Hi beautiful people, how are you? My name is Connor.
My name is Brittany.
Today we're talking about reframing common fear-based language with your child.
Yeah.
And how we've done that with our child.
Yes, 100%. And actually, as you said that, I was just thinking, wow, and with ourselves.
No doubt, no doubt.
Because if we're using it with our children, it's because that's how we're thinking about it.
That's very true. And with each other, and it goes far beyond. But certainly it impacts, I think, children the most, because children are just super impacted by everything.
Yeah, they're these pretty clean slates that they're sponges that we're programming, and it's such a powerful time to program this powerful thinking. So I want to share the life example that inspired this video. A family member was visiting me, and Ilya was walking with her through the laundry room, and she said to Ilya, oh no, back up Ilya, I don't want the door to hit you in the face. It's such a simple thing, such a simple thing. And I just remember thinking and what I realized would have felt better for me to hear is, Ilya, do you want to try backing up? I'd love to create space for the door to open and for you to pass through. So just the simple shift of what I don't want to happen versus what I do want to happen. And that could be, in so many different ways. I had a friend posted about, her kids were playing kind of rock scrambling on these slippery rocks once. And instead of being careful so you don't slip and fall, I hear so many children say you're gonna fall and crack your head open. You're gonna do this and you're gonna do this and that. And as opposed to that, saying what you actually want to happen. So powerful. So it's oh, I love the way you're scrambling over those rocks. You look so strong. You look so agile. I love the way you're paying attention to the terrain, to the rocks that are slippery, to the, it's just empowering language.
Totally. Yeah, and one thing we've done with Ilya is taking these hikes around here. We live on top of some really beautiful woods and a lot of hiking trails that lead down to the water. Yeah. And some of the trails are pretty tough. And with Ilya, right from the beginning, when he was interested in walking on his own, we encouraged him by saying, you got this, you got this, you got it. And then he started saying, as he was walking, he'd say, you got this, you got this. And I feel because of that empowering language, that's what's being internalized within his own communication to himself as things unfold through the day and ultimately through his life. And I think this more fear-based or anxiety language can really stick with us long term, into adulthood, and can really form how we go through life. And if we find a challenge, then our brain switches into what are all the things that could go wrong, rather than what are all the ways that I can overcome this challenge. And it's not that we necessarily are advocating a disconnection with reality, only focusing a bad thing can never happen and we're just focusing on the positives. But I think there's a way for us to communicate so that we can imprint, here's a way to overcome a challenge versus a challenge is here and we're going to create a fear and anxiety response by focusing on all the potential negative things that could happen.
I love that so much.
Could I add one more thing just to go along with that? What I want for you as a parent or as a human being, if you have a fear about someone else getting hurt, that you can express your fear and say, I notice I have a fear that something might happen, rather than don't do this thing because this thing could happen. That's really different. Children don't necessarily come into the world thinking, I might hurt myself. I think their brain is more set up for, I don't think they see things as problems, but if we think about problem solution, I think that's kind of how their operating system is navigating life. But I don't even think they think this is a problem. I think they're just
in it.
Figuring something out. And it's not that we want to pretend like
there's no danger.
Like there's no danger
Yeah.
or difficulty, but we can express things in a way that are more personal to us, because your child is not necessarily feeling this sensation of fear until you tell them to.
Yes. Is there anything?
I'm kind of hitting on what I want to speak to.
There's something I want to say that might speak to
maybe
it
it would
as well.
help clean it up. Yeah.
Well, let's see. So I feel like maybe we were taught that like kids are gonna like totally get hurt all the time. And what I've noticed is that by having some trust in Ilya and in their natural instincts, I've seen Ilya grow into a really confident young being who knows their personal boundaries and who asks for help when they need it. And for example, like Ilya, if we're playing at this spring-fed pool we go to, Ilya's not just gonna run into the water and jump in. Like, they know about the edge of the water. They can walk over this bridge with no guardrails by themselves because they understand, like, there's the water, I don't just want to jump in, I need to have somebody in there that's ready to catch me. And same thing with the hiking that you were talking about, like, I felt confident that Ilya would know when they needed help or a spot. Like we've done a lot of spotting Ilya, which means like hands off, but being right there while they were climbing so that we're there if they need us. And Ilya knows their boundaries better than I do. So Ilya knows when to ask for help. And that doesn't mean like I've never gotten fearful. Sometimes Ilya will be climbing something and I suddenly feel like, oh my gosh, that's pretty high. I really want to do something. And I might just check in and say like, Ilya, I'd love to spot you right now. Would you like take a moment for me to get there or whatever? But it's not saying like, stop doing this, you're going to this thing.
Totally.
And yeah, so I think a lot of this is speaking to surrendering more, having more trust in our children and stopping them less. Because I see a lot of helicopter parenting where kids are getting moved around and stopped and like unable to get into a flow. So it makes sense to me that then those kids wouldn't know their boundaries and they might just run off into the pool or like try to run down a cliffside. Because
they're used to a safety net that's always around them, keeping them from any possible misstep. So another example is, if we are cooking something and we have some food and it's just come off the stove, we tell Ilya, this is hot. We don't say, you're gonna burn yourself. Say, this is hot. And Ilya understands what hot means. And we've done different things with the sensation of hot so that Ilya can experience hot in a safe way and understand that hot equals I don't want to touch it, or I want to leave it alone, or I want to blow on it, those sort of things. So I think this all has to do with the child learning to take care of their own surroundings based on their understanding of surroundings in conjunction with our understanding of surroundings, because we have a higher level of understanding about certain things than our children do, and we can let them know because they don't know some things. But it doesn't mean that they're stupid, and it doesn't mean that they don't know how to respond. They just need to be modeled that. And instead of modeling it or teaching it from a fear-based way, you can just teach it from a very practical standpoint.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking like, oh, I love this because what we're really doing is describing the attributes of an item or an environment, as opposed to saying what the fear-based outcome will be or could be. We're saying like, oh, this is a hot item. Like, see, there's steam coming off of it. Can you feel like that it's hot around it? Do you want to try blowing on it? Like all these different things.
And another thing I've seen with Ilya, I think because we don't impede on them very often, it's very, very rare that we stop what they're doing.
It's super rare.
If we do say, Ilya, can you not do that thing? They tend to not do it, like 99.9 times out of 100.
Yeah.
Compared to a lot of other kids that I've seen. And this could change, but this is what I've noticed so far. And Ilya's 2 years and about 4 months now. And I think it's because we don't say stop.
It's not overused.
We don't overuse it. And so when Ilya hears that, it's like he's down to work with us because we're down to work with him, and we do work with him on a lot of things. We're much more there to co-create rather than direct. And I think this is all what we're speaking to, is like removing ourselves from a directorship over children and trying to really encourage them to be autonomous as young as possible, while also being realistic with their capabilities and their understanding of the world.
I love this topic so much, and it really does get back into like how we were raised and what we saw and absorbed from society. I still have, when I'm running, there's a voice inside of me that's like, you're gonna trip and fall, or I'll just start to envision the ways that I'll fall. So now I just hear Ilya in my head, and I really practice that, and it's like, you got it, there you go, there you go, and I'm like, you got it, you got it, good job. I'm like, yeah, and that's so powerful for me to do on my own, and especially when I'm like hiking or doing something with Ilya, I'm like, we got this. Like, of course we got it. We don't got it when I think I'm gonna fall on my face.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
Yeah.
That's what we got.
That's what we got. So curious to hear from you down below if you have any stories that you want to share of your own.